Hello there. Um, I was not expecting to record this video. However, the I just beat this game, and I won't go into too much detail about how it ends. There are two endings to the game, and both of them, in my opinion, are shit. However, the gameplay is phenomenal, and the game in general looks incredibly gorgeous. So, um, here is a start to the game. You, the game does not have a menu screen. You can press escape to go into this menu, but when you start the game, it starts you right there. There's no title screen or menu or anything. It just gets right into it. The game can be played with a gamepad, I think, but I don't play it with that. So when you left click, the screen gets this white border, and you can see your mouse is this little circle. And you can interact with objects in the world. For example, this little keyhole. Puzzles in the game start at a circle that more or less matches the size of your mouse, and then you drag it to an end that has a curvature on it. If the end is flat, then that is just a dead end and not actually the end. And in a little bit, you will see what it is I'm talking about. And here, you can see also, oh, I just missed that. When you right click, you can undo what you've done. When you are in, you can see that little circle will tell you where to go. And then you step out into the world. This game purposefully does not have a soundtrack, so if you cannot stand games that don't have soundtracks, add one yourself, I guess. Otherwise, enjoy the. There are sounds, as you can hear if you listen. I'll be quiet for a moment. There are sounds. There's nature, but there's no music. Later on in the game, when you get to really important parts, there's a little bit of music that plays, but for 99% of the game there is no music. There's just ambient sound, very good ambient sound. So this is what I meant when I said that there are cutoff points that aren't where you're supposed to go. You go over here and nothing happens. However, if you traverse this maze to the correct endpoint, you will win, I guess. When there is a wire attached to a board like this, that means you have to win this board in order to turn the power on. And if you follow this cord, it will take you to another one. Now, as an example, I'll show you that when we beat this one, this cord will come alive, and this cord comes into here. You can see that the screen is off. You can't do anything with it. So it's not just feeding the power through, but it's also, you can't just go further ahead, beat them, and then come back. If you are stuck on one, then you are simply stuck. Once you get out of the world is made up of pockets of linear progression. Um, the game in general is very open, and you can go sort of wherever you want. So if we do this one, you can see even the most basic of ideas can get very complicated. And I know starting out this is just sort of very simple maze. The way you get out is through here, kind of. So there is a second kind of puzzle. I've mentioned this to you in the past, but there are puzzles like this where it's very clear that this is a puzzle. And it starts at a dot and ends at a bit of a curve. Now, you might notice that this kind of example also exists within the world based on your perception. This game is very perception based. Now, you can go ahead and beat the entire game by only doing the puzzles that are on these boxes. You can beat the game, you can see one of its endings, and that's that. However, there are these other puzzles. Now, I'm not going to do this. You'll notice, just for an example, when I click on this, you hear that noise. And you can see the little sparkles emitting on the side. And if I followed this to completion here, if I finished that, it would open up a door. Not this door. It's something secret. I'm not going to do it right now. I suggest you not do it at first either. But this was the closest thing that I could think of as an example of puzzles that exist in the world rather than on these plates. Now, there are areas in the game that are very clearly tutorials, like this entire starting area. Now there are 2 circles here. What does that mean? That just means that you can start in either location. It doesn't matter, as long as you can get to this endpoint. So, if you take this endpoint back, it's fairly simple to see that that's how you progress. There's one final puzzle over here, and I'm not going to solve, well, I might as well. This is the last one, and this is the only one that can get a little tricky, so if you don't want to have the solution spoiled for you right now, go ahead and stop the video, and just when you finish this, all of the locks on that door over there will be open, and you can leave and go and explore. Keep in mind that there are 700 puzzles, and currently we've done 6. So, spoiling this one isn't going to be too much of a problem. If you want to see the rest of the island, I will be going out there later. So, if you don't want this secret of this one spoiled close now. But it's solved. You would initially think, okay, I'm here, that's done. But as you will notice, there are 2 wires on the edge of this one, and when there are multiple wires like that, for the most part, you will find that the ending points, when there are multiple ending points, usually line up with where the wire is in accordance. Now we want this bottom wire that goes back out here. This upper wire does something else. If you want to come back later and experiment with where the second wire goes, I will tell you that it does do something. It's not just a dead wire. There is no such thing as a dead wire in this game, actually. If there is a wire, it connects from one puzzle to something else. For example, all of these puzzles in here have opened up this gate. Now, this gate can be opened in any direction. And you will notice that this is no longer blazing white. I can't click on this anymore. So some puzzles in the world will require certain things to happen. For example, this whole setup would need to be lit up. And now, once you're out here, the world... Nope, it gives you some little directions, so I didn't get that when I first played through. You can hold shift to sprint. And this is the world. You might notice already the themes that I was telling you about. There are holes that lead to curved endings. The world-based puzzles, these perceived ones here, they will go onto, there's a little monolith there, there's also one right here, and once you have solved one in the area around these monoliths, the monoliths will light up a little bit. You can't see it from here, but we'll go over in a second. The monoliths will light up and show you the nearby the direction where the other nearby world-based puzzles are. There's these 2 sections of signs here are introductions to different mechanics. I'm not going to do them. If you get the game and you play, you can learn those mechanics by doing them yourselves. This is just going to be a bit of a show of the world. And the monolith that's down here. So, you can see the one that we did over in the water was this shape. And you can see all the other ones in the vicinity have little gray marks. And you can see there's quite a lot. And there are quite a lot of monoliths too. There's one here, there's one over in the desert, there's one up on that hill which is covered by a tree, I think. There's one up by the mountain and one over by the sandcastle on the other end of the island. So there's at least 5. There's probably 6 or 7. There's probably a couple that I'm missing of. Oh, there's one by the quarry. That's 6. So you kind of get the idea. One thing I will share, just very quickly, is that even though this town is so close to your starting point. This is actually the second to last area of the game. Um, you'll notice some of the puzzles on the doors are very complicated with strange looking icons and whatnot in the puzzles. And that is because everything going up to this... Oh, I didn't know this. See? Here is an example of perception-based things. There you go. Well, I did that wrong somehow. There you go. And by the looks of it, there's going to be another one. And more. So, there you go. There's examples. You just find these circles and stuff around the world and, yep. So, that's the game. Puzzles get intensely more complicated. The perception-based ones, like, I have looked at this tower many, many times and have never before seen this, or any of these other, like, look at these, look at this. This is like, there's another one right there, yeah. Crazy. So, that is a little showcase of the game and the two different kinds of puzzles that you can solve. So, when I beat the game, you'll see I was at 423 solved, and I believe there are... I keep hearing the number 700. Now, I believe there's a little bit more than 700, but for ease of saying things, there's about 700. And for the most part, I did not get very many of the world-based perception puzzles. As you can see, I'm still finding some in this new playthrough of the game that I've just started. So, you know, I did get some. I filled up some of the monoliths, like about a quarter to a third of the way, give or take. But other monoliths I didn't even touch. So, there's probably about... Let's look at this again. So 423. I wager I did about 23 real, like, in the world perception based ones. So I'd say there's probably about 400 puzzles that are on walls like that, and about 300 that are in the world, give or take. So that's the game. It's $40 on Steam. It's also on PlayStation 4. I don't know how much it is on there. I'd assume it's the same price. And that's why, if there is controller support for the PC version, that's why that would be wise, because it's also on console. And as you can see, like I mentioned, the clouds don't move. And there's one solid black cloud. Not sure why, but all the rest are white. Anyways, yep, that's the game.